If you're watching this video, I'm guessing you're coming to Berlin for the marathon. I'm Allie and I run the site Berlin Travel Tips. Last year, I wanted to follow two different people who were running in the Berlin Marathon. They were running at different paces and they had different start times. I quickly realized just how complicated it was to figure out how to follow two of them around and figure out when they were going to be in different places and how I could coordinate different stops to see each of them at least twice. It was a lot of math. It was a lot of figuring out how many minutes until they get to the next kilometer marker. It was pretty complicated. It took me several hours and a spreadsheet and a calculator. And it was quite frustrating. I can imagine if you are not from Berlin, having to do all that plus figuring out how to navigate on public transport and get around the city might be a little overwhelming. And it is really a lot of math to figure out where they're going to be. Most people will just go to one or two spots and cheer for their person, and that's great. But lots of people have told me just how meaningful it is to see their friend or their family member, their spouse, whoever it is, cheering them on along the way. So if you can make it to 3, 4, 5, even 6 different places, wouldn't that be just amazing? So I decided all this work I did to figure out how to follow my two friends was something that I could recreate in a way to help you guys go and see your person participating in the marathon. So this is not for someone who wants to just kind of go and say hi to their person just 1 or 2 times. If you really want that, you can go to kilometer 21 and then walk about 3 blocks over and you'll get to kilometer 37 and there you go. If you want more than that though, if you really want to cheer on your person who's put months and months of work into doing this marathon, this tool is for you. So I'm going to show you how to use the tool. It's really simple. It's a spreadsheet. You just need to put in 2 pieces of information, and I'm going to show you how to use the BVG Far Info app to get around on public transport, and a little bit about how to get around, how to look at the signs and understand which way the trains are going so that you get on going the right direction. So before we move on, if you would like to follow my YouTube channel, that would be amazing. And you can go to berlintraveltips.com for lots more information for exploring Berlin and where to eat and all kinds of different things that are going to help you on your trip. So now you can see this is the spreadsheet that I made. You can even track 2 different people with this. So at the top here, you put in the person's pace, and this is going to be how many minutes it takes them to run each kilometer. If you only have miles, there's a little formula down here below, so you can put that in and that will convert your miles to kilometers. And then you put in their start time. So you just put in those 2 pieces of information, their pace and their start time. And then you can see down here, it's going to show you all of the different kilometer markers. Each one of those links to the exact place on Google Maps, and then the time of day when they will be there. So that over here you've got the location, the street name, or some other description of where this kilometer marker is, plus the closest U-Bahn, S-Bahn, or sometimes a tram stop, but usually it's U-Bahns and S-Bahns. Sometimes the U-Bahn stop is going to be in between 2 kilometer markers. So rather than say, oh, I must get to kilometer marker 21, I would just aim for the station that's in between 20 and 21 or 21 and 22, whatever it is. And that way you don't have to spend extra time walking to a very specific point. The other important thing to note here is I've got red boxes around all of the times in those 2 columns. Do not type in those. Those are formulas. That's the complicated math. So if you type in that, it will override those formulas and then the tool won't work. I couldn't get it to be locked for you because when you make a copy, that's just not an option. So I've put a big note, I put those red boxes around it. It should even give you a warning if you try to type there. So just don't type there. If you do, just close it, go back to the PDF and click on that link again, and then you can start over. The other thing I want to really emphasize here is don't plan too tightly. The marathon app that they put out, that app allows you to actually track your person as they're running, and it will update every 5 kilometers. So as they're running, you can see where they actually are, what their actual pace is. Now there's a lot of people who run in the marathon, and it means that they're not all going to cross the start line at exactly the time that they're given as their start time. The 2 different people I was tracking, both were roughly 10 minutes or so later than the start time they told me. So that does give you a little bit of wiggle room. And then the other thing is, they might run a little faster or a little slower than they thought they would, or even just at different parts of the race, they might be going a little faster or a little slower. So you want to make sure you give yourself a good cushion to account for that, because you would hate to only have the exact amount of time you need and then you miss the train, or the train is full, or your person is going just a little bit faster and then you miss them. So give yourself a cushion. It's better if you get there and stand and wait for 20 minutes for your person to show up than to miss them. So keep that in mind. I have 4 different example routes included with your purchase here, and 2 of them are for following 1 person, 2 of them are for following 2 people. The 2 for following 2 people are very similar, but one of them is a little bit more ambitious to get you to the end, see the person, the faster person, as well as the slower person. So you've got some options there, but you can also use my tool to see where your person's actually going to be, because I can't give you examples for every single scenario. But you've got a slower runner, a faster runner, and a couple of 2 people ones. I packed a lunch with me so that I could just sort of eat while I was standing and waiting and cheering. There's definitely places around where you can get food if you want to. I have one place marked on there where there's a beer garden. So you could stop and get some food there if you have time. So just keep that in mind. If you're like me and you've got to eat at a certain time, make sure you have some food prepared for that. The other thing is, if you want to bring water or snacks to hand off to your person who's participating in the marathon, that's something you can do as well. They have places where they can drop water that will be ready for them at certain spots, but you can also just have that for them as long as they know where to look for you. It's a little more tricky because you have to really tell them, I'm going to be at this kilometer marker and on this side of the street and whatever, but that is something you can do. The other thing is using transport. BVG Far Info app is pretty easy to use. It will do English as well, so you don't have to worry about language issues. You can use Google Maps. It's usually pretty accurate, but if you're looking at a stop and you want to know which lines run through that station or that stop, it's not always the best. If a train or a tram ran through there once for some random reason, it was rerouted or it was on its way to the place where they all go at night or something, Google Maps will typically show, hey, this train comes through here, even though it doesn't really do that. So I don't like it for that reason. It gets a little annoying. The BVG app is pretty easy to use. You put in where you're starting and where you're going to. You can put in stations, you can put in addresses, like when you're traveling around right before the marathon. If you know you want to go from your hotel to a specific museum, you can put in those street addresses and it'll tell you the best way to get there. So you don't even have to know what the closest station is. If you have your location tracking thing turned on, it will know where you are and it can give you directions from that point, so you don't even have to figure out where you are. The other thing is the direction that you're going in. When you look in the app, it will tell you, for example, U5 direction Berlin Hauptbahnhof. So then when you get to the U5 platform, you look at the signs and one of them will say Berlin Hauptbahnhof and the other one will say Honau or something else. That one changes depending on exactly which train, but it means that you can figure out that's how you know which way to go. So if you're going from Alexanderplatz to Brandenburger Tor, neither one of those is going to show up as the destination on the U5, but you know if you're going from Alexanderplatz to Brandenburger Tor and the app tells you go towards Berlin Hauptbahnhof, that's the train that you get on. If you get on the other one, you're going to go the wrong way. So that's important for you to understand on race day, for you to run around the city to watch your person in the marathon. I have put those directions in the example routes, so you can see how that works. You don't have to figure that out. You can just read my thing and do that. If you're creating your own route based on the times in the spreadsheet, look up those routes in the BVG app and make notes so that you know which way you're going. And then on the day, obviously I'm hoping you have data on your phone, but on the day, then you can run your route. You can put in, I want to go from here to here, and it'll tell you the best way to go. Sometimes there's multiple options. I always try to go for the one with the fewest number of switches. It just makes it easier. And then the other thing is, I would avoid buses on race day. There are quite a few of them that don't operate near the participant zone and anywhere near the course. If the bus has to cross the course, it can't do that when there's a bunch of people running by. So buses can get really tricky, and I wouldn't count on a bus on that day. There's even a couple buses really right around the participant zone that don't run for several days around marathons. So, and the app knows. The app will understand if that bus is running or not. It's just if you're planning a couple months ahead of time, you're looking at this spreadsheet, let's say a month ahead of time, and you're just looking at right now, well, it might give you a bus. And maybe that bus works, maybe it doesn't. So the other thing to note about transport on marathon day is it can be very busy. You have to remember there's something like 50,000 people participating in the marathon, and some of them come by themselves, but some of them bring, a spouse and a few kids and their parents and their best friend, so there's a lot of people plus locals trying to get around doing things. It can get very, very crowded. I was definitely on a few trains where I was super, super squished in there, so be aware of that. As you're getting around to watch your person run and cheer for them, the best ticket for most people is going to be a 24-hour ticket. This lets you get on and off as many times as you need to for that entire 24-hour period. It's not a calendar day thing, it's literally 24 hours. A single adult 24-hour ticket also covers up to 3 kids aged 6 to 14. Any kids that are younger than that don't even count towards that total. But then anyone who's 15 and older is counted as an adult and they need their own ticket. The 24-hour ticket's a really good deal, even if it's just you by yourself. It's always just good to be able to get on and off as many times as you want, and it only takes like 3 rides to make it better to get the 24-hour ticket versus single tickets. So that's my best option for you. And you need zones A, B if you're just traveling around in the city. Every single part of the marathon route is in zones A or B. Pretty much anything you want to do as a tourist, except for day trips, is within A and B. You only need C if you're going to and from the airport, if you're going to someplace like Potsdam or Sachsenhausen Concentration Camp Memorial. A few other day trips that you would need zone C for, but if it literally has a Berlin address, then it's in zones A or B. So like Olympic Stadium is really far, but it's still within zone B. So I hope this tool helps you to follow your marathon participant around the city and get to cheer them on in more than just 2 spots. I know that they will really, really appreciate seeing you in multiple locations throughout the city. It really helps keep them motivated to see someone that they love multiple times. It's a really tough race, so I've been told. I don't run. But, they train for it for months. So if you're able to get to 3, 4, 5, even 6 different places to cheer them on, they will really, really appreciate it. So good luck with the tool. Good luck with your trip to Berlin. Again, give me a quick follow on YouTube here. Go check out berlintraveltips.com for more advice for what to do in Berlin, where to eat, all of that good stuff. And if you have any questions, get in touch. Thank you.